Ready?
All right, well, we're here with Jerry Comfort from Beringer Estates, all the way from Napa Valley. I appreciate it, Jerry. Appreciate you being here and taking the time to speak with us. For those that don't know, I'm Mark Britton. I'm a blogger at TOWineMan.com. Jerry is a wine educator.
Yep.
Beringer, straight from Napa Valley here for the Gourmet Food and Wine Show in Toronto. But I guess before we get too far, why don't you give everybody a bit more of a sense of the role that you take at Beringer?
All right, basically what I say is I'm kind of an ambassador and a glorified trainer, both at the same time. So when our winemaker can't get out on the road and represent Beringer at the fair, they ask me to do it. Plus, I've had kind of like a dual career. This is I've been with Beringer Wineries over 20 years, but I was their chef for 10. Okay. So prior to coming to Beringer, I was a chef in Napa Valley and in San Francisco. So I've applied that to food and wine pairing, and so my kind of value add is not only doing wine tastings and educating about Beringer itself, I then also work with sommeliers, chefs, restaurateurs, and teach about food and wine pairing.
Okay, great. So you are the food and wine pairing expert.
I'm the guy.
You're the guy. So what came first? Was it food, a passion for food, or a passion for wine, or did they just really naturally come together?
Well, probably just out of legalities, food came first. My first job was in a restaurant, and so I started following the path of restaurants. But fortunately, when I moved to San Francisco, I was in one of the only 8 5-star hotels in all of the United States, and they had a passionate wine cellar, and so we would start to be involved with wines there, and that evolved into I opened up a couple of really world-renowned restaurants, and they were always very enthusiastic about training their staff, even the kitchen staff. So they would bring in, let's say at the end of a busy night, a bottle in a bag, and pass everybody a glass and kind of quiz us a bit. So that started stimulating me even more. But then, of course, when I moved to Napa Valley, I first moved up to be at Domaine Chandon. That's Moet Chandon's winery restaurant. Okay. Yeah. And I was chef de cuisine there, but I also started making homemade wines and taking courses at our wine university, the University of Davis. Okay. And that's when I started to get really serious in both paths. And then ultimately to end up at a winery as a chef. Part of my role there essentially was not just to make great food, but was to really show off the wines.
Right.
And people would ask me, geez, those pairings were great and the wines were great. What were you thinking? How'd you come up with that? And at first, even after 15, 20 years as being a chef, I really didn't have a good way to communicate food and wine pairing. So I started really studying how other people communicated about it, and wasn't really pleased with that. They would frequently just go to traditional regional pairing analogies, or they would go with this weights and balances thing, where you kind of like basically recreate the food and the wine. People say, it goes as simple as white wine with white fish, red wine with red meat. But wine geeks like me, we take it a lot further, right? It's like we try and match not only the smells and flavors and the colors, and all of a sudden now you're trying to pair to all these different things that fundamentally I was finding in the kitchen wasn't the path, it wasn't necessary, and it was actually a much simpler way of communicating, and it really comes down to all those other ways are kind of what I call pairing to flavors. You eat with your eyes, you smell the food. What are the dominant flavors in the dish? Or it reminds me, of the wine. Or it reminds me of tobacco and leather and blackberries. Well, I'm not going to serve tobacco and leather necessarily, but I might smoke something so it's smoky like the tobacco and serve it with berries. And that actually usually backfires on the wine. And basically, what I concentrate on is pairing to taste, and that's literally what your tongue can taste.
Right.
So it's your basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and the fifth taste, basically discovered in 1908. The Japanese word called umami. And it's a lot more fun to say umami than it is to say the protein taste. But I think of umami as a very philosophical term because it means savory or deliciousness, and I can't really sink my teeth into that. Right. But really, what they extracted out from their dashi kombu broth in 1908 was the taste of some amino acids. And since amino acids are the building blocks of protein, I call it the protein taste.
Right.
And one thing food scientists have proven is that you cannot describe a taste. So we describe taste by analogy, things high in that taste. Okay. So to give people an idea of what umami taste is, I have them imagine tasting a piece of undressed, unadulterated tofu. Okay. Now, when I ask people, what does that taste like, I get 2 answers: yuck and nothing.
Nothing, I was going to say.
But you have food in your mouth. So it has a taste.
Right.
The thing is, we were never taught what that taste is. It's not sweet, sour, salty, or bitter. It is the fifth taste. It is umami. To give other analogies of that, if you were to bake a potato, cut it open and try the pulp of the potato, nothing on it. It's not sweet, sour, salty, or bitter. It's umami. Think of sushi, salmon, halibut, tuna. Different flavors, but the same taste. And this is where people get bogged down. It's not, they can't get over the thought process, the paradigm of flavor, or the difference between that and taste.
Right.
Lemon and lime have different flavors, but they have the same taste. Maple syrup and honey have different flavors, but they have the same taste.
Right.
Halibut and tuna have different flavors, but they have the same taste.
Right.
So now people start going, oh, I get it. Flavor is very different than taste. So when I'm saying that people pair to flavor, if I were to describe this Cabernet as having licorice and blackberry, and so then I make a dish that has a Pernod glazed blackberries, it's kind of licoricey and blackberry. The sweetness in the Pernod and the sweetness in the blackberries are going to be, when I have my wine with that, the flavors may match, but the tastes are too counterproductive.
Right.
So it's like drinking orange juice and brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
The wine's an acid-based beverage. Orange juice is an acid-based beverage. Your toothpaste has sweeteners, not sugar, but sweetener items, so that we want to brush our teeth.
Yeah.
When your tongue's covered with the sweetness, you no longer taste as much of the sweetness in the orange juice, and all you taste is acid. If I'm pouring this Cabernet, and I serve that venison with the Pernod blackberry sauce, it may taste delicious as a dish, but the sweetness is going to coat my tongue, and all I'm going to taste is acid, oak, and tannins. So it'll totally destroy the wine, even though they have the same flavors.
Right.
So
spicy Shiraz with spicy food, you wouldn't put spicy and spicy.
in general, not. The instance there that does help that equation is that Shiraz in general has softer tannins, versus if I were to say a Nebbiolo or a Petit Syrah or a Cab Franc, because it's not reacting to the acids or the alcohol in the wine. Spice reacts to tannins and oak in wine. Because what happens is oak and tannins rough up your tongue and make it more sensitive to the spice. So as soon as I have that Nebbiolo or that Petit Syrah, and then I go to the spicy food, the spice goes through the roof. And we say, oh wow, it's overpowering the wine.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but it's the wine was a catalyst to the spice.
And you can really butcher it, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
You can put all this time into the wine, you can put all this time into the food.